guys, and welcome again to this edition of Learning with Rich. So, for today's topic, let's continue our discussion about list in Dynamo. All right, so let's drop again our list create node. So, if you still remember, this is the one that we used last time. So, I'm going to delete this one. So, by right clicking and then select remove, so I don't need to have couple of list create. And then I'm going to add two more items here. And then I'm going to add here our number slider. All right, so number slider. So number slider. So I'm going to click that three times. So I'm going to input these three numbers here. All right, so for my item number one, item number two, and then item number three. Just remember, if you in Dynamo, in programming, you always start counting starting at zero. So that's why we have here three items. So for my item number zero, so I'm just going to key in here 5. So let's say for my 2 is 10. And then for my item 1 is 10, item 2 is, let's say 1. All right. So the list create node is just one method of constructing a list in Dynamo. So what we're going to do is, let's take a look at two functions that we can use to create a list of numbers rather than specifying numbers and adding them to the list one at a time. All right. So what we are going to do is, let's search from here. So the two nodes that I'm talking about is sequence. So let's look for sequence, this one. So as you can see, it's a list sequence. All right, so I have the sequence here, and also I need the range. All right, this one, range. There you go. Oops. Okay, so I have the sequence and then the range. So to keep our graph from getting too cluttered, so I'm going to drag the sequence and node something like this. Okay, because we will be using the preview button again. All right, so now about the sequence and the range nodes takes the three numbers as inputs. So as you can see, we have here three inputs. Okay, these are the three inputs that we have here. So we are going to use this list create node to connect that to our sequence here. So I'm going to plug in my list here, this one. Okay. Oh, so instead of doing that, so I'm just going to click this one from here. So that's the start. And then the 10 here, the amount, and then the number of step is here. Okay. And then I'm also going to drag this as the start for the range, and then the end of the range, and then the one for the step. Okay, so notice that the sequence node outputs 10 numbers. Okay, so if we are going to click here, so as you can see, you have here 10 outputs. Okay, so remember we start counting at 0 now. So while the range outputs 6, so as you can see, we have here 6 outputs. Right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so what's the explanation here? So as you can see, the start that we have selected here is number 5. That's why the start here is 5. And then the amount is 10. So meaning the total number, the total items here. So if you're going to count this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You see the output is 10. So that's the amount. And then the step here is 1. Okay, so as you can see, the step here is 1, so that it adds 1 to each number, like 5 plus 1 equals 6, 6 plus 1 equals 7, 7 plus 1 equals 8. So that's the meaning of these outputs here. Whereas the other node here is the range. So as you can see, the start of our range here is 5. So again, it starts with 5, but the end here is 10. So so it's different from the sequence. Okay, so the sequence here, the amount, okay, so that will be the total items. Okay, so here in the range, the end here, that will be the end of the output. So that's the end. And then again, the step is the same as the sequence here. So by 1. Okay, so 5 plus 1 equals 6 until it ends to 10. Okay, so that's the difference between the range and then the sequence. So if you are going to change the step input to 2 instead of 1, so like for example, this one, I'm going to change to 2. All right, so as you can see, again, it changes here. Okay, so now you can see that both lists are counting by 2. So the sequence node still returns 10 items. Okay, so because the amount that we have here is 10, so it returns 10 items, but as you can see, it's now difference. So you need to add 2, like 5 plus 2 equals 7, 7 plus 2 equals 9, etc., etc. Now, for the range here, as you can see, okay, so we only have 3 items here. Okay, so we only have 3 items. So it's 5. It's again, it starts with 5 plus 2 equals 7 plus 2 equals 9. So we only have 3 items here because we do not need, the program will not exceed number 10. Okay, so it will not show here 11. Why? Because the end that we selected here is 10. Okay, so as you can see, the range nodes only counts up to the number 9 and it stops. So it doesn't exceed 10. Okay, so we are also seeing a couple fewer items in the range output because when we're counting by 2, there are just fewer numbers between the numbers 5 to 10. Okay, so now that we have shown a list of these numbers, so let's see how this function nodes responds when we plug them into some of the nodes that we have seen in our previous example. So hopefully this portion is clear. We know the difference between the sequence and range. Okay, so let's see what happens when we plug the sequence output into our addition node, as well as, let's say, for example, number 9. Okay, so let's look for addition here. So let's try addition. So add this one. So let's use this one. So I'm going to click this. All right, so I'm going to put it here. Okay, so I'm going to put another number node here. So I'm just going to pick here a number. There you go. So there's my number. Okay, there's my number. So I'm going to key in here, let's say 10. So that will be my y. Okay, so that will be my y. So as you can see, the function is x plus y. All right, so for the y, so let's use our sequence here. So I'm going to click this. No, not the sequence, but the list. Sorry. No, I'll just use this one sequence. Sequence, I'm going to plug it here. There you go. Now, if I'm going to click this one, you see I have 10 outputs here, so I'm going to pin this. So there you go. So what that means is our item number 0. So 5 plus 10 equals 15. 7 plus 10 equals 17. 9 plus 10 equals 19, etc., etc. All right. So as you can see, it's the same length as the X input here. So our sequence list, and if you compare index 0 on both of these lists, so we'll see 5 is coming out of the sequence. Okay, there you go. Right, so 5 plus 10, 15. All right, so that's how it means when you use the plus here and then you use the sequence here. Okay, now, so let's try to use less than node. Okay, so another math function. So let's look for less than. Less than. All right. Oh, how about less? Okay, this one. So less than. Click. So if you still remember, we have discussed about this one. So as you can see, the output here will be a boolean. Okay, it's like a yes or no answer. Okay, so it's a yes or no answer. So what we are going to do is I'm going to input again my 10 here to my y, and then I'm going to use the sequence here. Then I'm going to put it here. There you go. Okay, so let's see the output. So I'm going to hover here and then pin this one. So as you can see, there's the Boolean answers here. So it's true or false. So what does it mean? So x less than y. So our x is this one. So from the list, item 0. So it's, as you can see, 5 here. So 5 is less than 10. Okay? 5 is less than 10 for our y. So the answer there is true. So that's why you can see there it's true. So same with our item number 2 or item number 1. So 7 is less than 10, which is true. There you go. So 9 is less than 10. That's our item number 2. It's true. Now for the item number 3, 11 less than 10. So the answer there is false. Okay. So basically, that's how it goes. So let us try to use another node that we have used a while ago. So again, hopefully this portion is clear. Okay, so you can use a math function to your numbers list. Okay, so in this example, we use the plus and less than. Now, so let us use another node here, which we have used a while ago, or I mean during our previous video, which is points by coordinate. Okay, so let's look for that. So points by coordinate. All right, this one. So X, Y, and Z. So I'm gonna click this one. Then I'm going to put it here. Okay, so as you can see, there's a value here created. There's an object created here. Why? Because by default, points by coordinates has a default value of 0, comma 0, comma 0. That's why you have a point there at 0, comma 0, comma 0. Okay, so let us try to unpin. Okay, since we have finished working on these nodes, so let's try to unpin so that it's not uh, cluttery. All right, there you go. So how are we going to use the points by coordinate? Okay, so if you remember in our previous video, okay, so our default value here is 0. Okay, so let's connect the list of values coming out of that sequence component to our Z output. All right, so this one, so I'm going to pick this sequence to our Z. So I'm going to pick here, okay, and see what happens. Okay, so looking at the geometry preview, we can see that 10 points are now created hovering around the origin. Okay, you see this one? Okay, so we have here 10 points. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so what are those points? So those points are, okay, so let's see this one. Okay, so I'm going to pin. Okay, so let's span this drawing somewhere here. Okay, so there you go. Okay, so that's the one on our list, if you still remember. Okay, so we have here 5. Okay, so that's our first point. So from the origin, it will move uh, 5, uh, 5 points. Okay, and then 7, 9, etc., etc., which follows our sequence here. Okay, this one. Okay, all right, there you go. See? All right, so these are the coordinates created after we plug in our sequence to our z values. All right, so they ran through each item in the list one by one. Okay, so we have now identified 3 ways to quickly build a list of numbers, and we have seen how these nodes tends to process list of multiple inputs. So they ran through each item in the list one by one, perform that node's function, and they return a list of each result in the same exact order as the input list. So this is a very powerful tool that we have here, our list. So during your career with Dynamo, you will be using list uh, many times. Okay, whenever you do a model, whenever you do a parametric design, so you'll be using list. So hopefully you learned something from this video. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can put it on the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So once again, thank you for watching, guys. Have a nice day.